Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a great day as we get things started here. Shaking off the cobwebs, getting the weekend off, and hey, hitting the ground running as we are interviewing a great company. We had them on a little while ago, but I believe we were talking about their routers. Yes, it was the routers for sure. But we have them on again to talk about a different division of the company, and equally important, as we are going to be talking about kind of home security, home surveillance, home webcams, things like that. Lots of different applications for them, and we're going to be talking about their latest products. So should be a fun time, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, a few things to mention, including ComputerAmerica.com. That's where you'll find everything from the show notes that have a link right to our guest website, any products that we talk about, any videos that we show, any articles that we do, so on and so forth. Everything will be available at our website, ComputerAmerica.com. While you're there, be sure to check out the contest where every single Friday we give away a prize to a lucky listener. And that is sponsored by Logitech. They help us out. They give us prizes to give away, and we are super thankful as we read a lucky listener's name live on the air every single Friday. So let's see. And the last thing is, of course, the live video stream where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. Not mandatory. We are still primarily a radio show, but hey, it's just another way, as will for today's guest, for instance, we'll be showing off, the product, the videos, the website for D-Link, things like that in the background. Just another way to experience what it is that we do here. So with all of that said, I think we're going to go ahead and jump into this. And so joining us today on the show, once again, is D-Link. And joining us is the Surveillance Product Line Manager. And we have Carissa Blegen. So Carissa, thank you for joining us here on Computer America.
Thank you for having me, Ben.
Yeah, so this is going to be great, but why don't we get started with, I think, the obvious? And for those of us who maybe hadn't heard about D-Link, could you give us a little bit of background on the company and a little bit of background on yourself? How did you find yourself at D-Link?
Sure can. Well, D-Link is over a 30-year-old company. We've been in IP surveillance for about 7-8 of those years, so a pretty long time in the field. Our networking obviously has been around for much, much longer. A lot of people are familiar with us for our networking products, our routers and wireless cards. But as we see the Wi-Fi camera industry growing, we are also growing and building on that too. And that's why, talking about this camera today is so wonderful for us. And as for me, I've actually been with the company for 10 years, I think. 11 next month. And I've been in the product realm, I guess, for the majority of that time, kind of dabbling in product as well as marketing. But surveillance product I have been really focused on for a few years now, and it's just a really exciting field to be in just because there's always something new happening in that area, new technologies, new software, and it's just every time I get a product, there's something new about it, something really awesome to get pumped about, and it's just a great group to be in charge of.
Yeah, I mean, and just even in your career alone, and I'm sure over the years of working with D-Link, the idea of having camera set up in your home, it's kind of like having a whole home speaker system, and same idea with having a whole home kind of security system. It was, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was super expensive. You had to run wires all over your house. It was, prohibitive to a lot of people. But, 3, 4, 5 years ago, starting then and especially, year over year, it's gotten easier, hasn't it? I mean, we'll talk about the use cases in a second, but just talk about, should people consider getting, installing one of these? Because as I said, if you haven't checked on it in a while, this was very expensive, hard to do, very complicated.
Oh, yes, definitely. I was actually just talking to a group of sales associates about this last week. We were doing some training, and, we were just talking about how even though for us who work in this industry every day, we can kind of get a little bit used to it, everybody else in the world is still thinking of home security and home surveillance as that very expensive, very invasive sort of setup. You have to have a third party come out. You have to have them drilling holes in your walls and running cables through it. They're managing the subscription. That's how people still see it, when really they can just go to a store, they can get a camera, they can set it up using just their Wi-Fi network and then access it from anywhere with an app. I mean, it's crazy how different it is from just a few years ago, and people are still becoming familiar with all the stuff that's available to them that they don't really need to, have a degree in any sort of like mechanical engineering or something to use. It's so that anybody, for any reason, for any purpose, can use these cameras without any difficulty.
Yeah,
So we've come a long way, that's for sure.
Right, and that's what we like to hear. So I think, obviously for the bulk of this conversation, we're going to be talking about your latest product, but hopefully a little bit later in the show we can talk about the other, types of cameras that you offer. But why don't you give us a bit of a run through, kind of what consumer are you kind of targeting with, if I get this right, the DCS 8000LH?
Yes, the DCS 8000LH. It sounds so wonderful when you put it with numbers. Or the mini HD Wi-Fi camera.
Okay.
For the ease of use, we can just call it the mini Wi-Fi camera. That camera we actually released late September, and it's geared more towards our home monitoring users. So a lot of people are coming to us and saying, I'm getting customers, our sales associates are coming and saying, I'm getting customers who come in and they want to get a Wi-Fi camera. They're not exactly sure what features they need. They don't really know anything other than they just heard that they can get a Wi-Fi camera and they can do all these sorts of things with it. A lot of those people are looking to use it as a baby monitor. I would say the majority of our users are looking to use it as a baby monitor or just kind of kid and general monitoring, and pet monitors.
Mm-hmm.
So those ones who are just kind of checking in, live viewing, making sure everything's okay, taking snapshots if something interesting is happening, that kind of thing. And this camera, the mini Wi-Fi camera, is perfect for that. It's a really, really small form factor, tiny. It's no bigger than a deck of cards. Really attractive looking. You can put it on the bookshelf. You can put it anywhere you want and just kind of see everything that's happening as it happens, so that you don't really have to worry about it. So it's just, like I said, a home monitoring sort of camera for those people who are looking to do that live monitoring, for those people who are brand new to the technology and they want to get familiar with it, what's available to them, how the app works, and then go from there. Seeing as we have so many other cameras, this is kind of like our, entry into the world, and then they can just add and grow as they feel it necessary.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned the size, because if for everyone out there who's watching the video portion, we just showed the product video that you have up there on your website. I think I'm so used to the cylinder shape of, take your Alexas or your Google Homes, whatever, and I'm used to things being kind of 7, 8, 9 inches tall. This is nowhere near that, because it's similar shape, but you're right. I mean, this thing fits easily in your hand and would be very, very, I think, kind of hard to pick out of the scenery if someone were looking for a security camera. This is inconspicuous as I've ever seen it. So very, very cool. But I will say one of the other features that kind of makes it stand out from a lot of different cameras that we talk about here on the show, entry point obviously that means that it's going to be one of your less expensive lines, but $60, not half bad.
Yep.
How did you
No.
kind of get that?
Really when we first started talking about making this camera, we look at a lot of the competition, but we also look at, just asking around, doing surveys, doing kind of focus groups. If somebody is new to this technology, it's really hard to get them interested in a camera that's $200 and has all these bells and whistles that they don't really need. And we thought, okay, we want to provide them with a camera that has the features they need, the night vision, the detection alerts, the remote access, but we want to keep it affordable enough so that somebody who's brand new, doesn't say, I guess I don't need a home monitoring camera. I guess it's not for somebody like me. We want people to feel like no matter what situation they're in, whatever they want to use it for, that they can afford a reliable and feature-rich camera. So that's why we kind of came around to that price point was, that's what we think is a very, very affordable, really cost-effective price tag to put on peace of mind, basically.
Right. No, and we've seen, and I've actually found it kind of interesting that some of the best security cameras, D-Link included, that they're starting to come from router companies, and I always found it kind of interesting that obviously the people who do networking would be able to kind of offer a pretty solid network attached, or at least a network connected security camera. I always found that a bit interesting, but networking in general, it can be complicated. I mean, just real quick, about can you talk about kind of the installation, the setup? Is this ideal for people who maybe already have D-Link products in their home, so they kind of mesh easier, or installation is kind of easy across the board?
Installation is easy across the board, honestly. I remember a few years ago, a lot of products that did come out, like you said, from other category companies like networking. It was made a lot easier if you were all within the same family. But nowadays, I mean, you have some, a company doing your router, another company has a light switch. I mean, you have so many different brands in your household. It's just not realistic to put that sort of limitations on a customer. So this camera, as well as our other cameras, is compatible with any sort of network, whether it be produced by our brand router, a competitor brand router. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a Wi-Fi network, you can set up this camera. And this camera is our first camera that offers Bluetooth setup. And again, I'm a little bit jaded. I set up cameras basically for a living. So whenever we say it's really easy, I try and kind of see it from the other point of view. But this Bluetooth setup, I was actually overwhelmed with how easy it was. I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe I'm doing something wrong. But I was able to set up the camera within minutes, less than 5 minutes, with no issues. Just had Bluetooth on my phone, had a Wi-Fi network going, and I was done. It was the most simple thing I've ever set up.
Super simple. And talk about who can act, because obviously when you put a camera in your home, I've gotten this sentiment from family and friends and, just general callers and things like that, having a camera in your home, I don't think the industry of home security, internet connected cameras, I don't think they have a strong reputation for security. We've seen them, kind of compromised, and they're used in botnet attacks and blah, blah, blah. To keep it simple, security hasn't really been a focus for a lot of companies that put these out. I think they try to make them easy to use, easy to access. They try to take as many pain points out, but at some point, those pain points include, making sure you're the only person, or the people that you allow are the only people allowed to look at your camera in, the inside of your home, your kid, many, many other things. So talk about, I guess, kind of two-part here. Talk about who can access your camera, or I'm sorry, how to access your camera. Is this via only the smartphone app? Can you do it by computer? And what kind of security measures have you taken with this camera?
All right. So First, as for how to access the camera, we have a free app that's available on all platforms, so iOS, Android, and that good old Windows phone, whoever is left out there with the Windows phone. But we also have a desktop web portal, so if somebody did want to access their camera or their account on their laptop or desktop, we do have a web portal. So it's really supposed to be anywhere in the world, any device you have, you should be able to access your own home cameras, right? We want to be able to give people that without any sort of limitations. Now, as for security, when you're setting up the camera, the first things first, as a networking, at our base, as a networking company, we are always encouraging customers, whether they're ours or not, to keep their network, so their router, up to date with firmware softwares and keep it secure with their own password. A lot of them come pre-configured for the ease of setup, but you want to go in, you want to change the password, you want to change it regularly, and you want to make it kind of complicated. So when you're setting up the camera, first, if your phone or tablet, whatever you're using to set it up, is connected to your network, at some point you've entered in that complicated, personalized password. Next, during the setup process with the camera, it is required that the customer sets up a password for the camera itself. So that's adding a second layer. That if somebody were to try to break in, they'd have to break into your network and they'd have to break into your camera. So as long as you're putting that two-password authentication, you're adding a lot of layer security. Plus, we have the WPA2 encryption on there. You can even have it ask for the password every time you even try and open the camera. So if I want to select the camera to view my living room, let's say, I can have it prompt me to enter that password in before it even showed me the live view. So we try to put a little measures in place so that people can really take advantage and secure their cameras. It's just about taking the time to make sure that you're actually following those steps.
Right. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. You can put all the security features you want on it, but if the end user makes simple or, there's that list every single year that they come out with, the most popular passwords. And if your password is one password or baseball one or football one, it probably won't help too much, but I completely understand. So at least you have, the ability to, make it rather difficult to, kind of patch into. So talk about some of the features of this camera that make it a good home security or just kind of home surveillance camera. Because, again, I'm kind of looking at the features here. 720p, so HD video. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about kind of like motion and sound detection and the night vision. Why did you decide for, I guess, kind of a stripped down unit? Obviously, you said an entry level unit. Why did you still feel the need to include motion detection and night vision?
Honestly, when I think about a Wi-Fi camera, I feel like there's absolutely no point in having a Wi-Fi camera. It doesn't see at night, and if it doesn't send you detection alerts, there's literally no point in purchasing this product if it doesn't have those things. And our night vision, by kind of a standard, is 16 feet, which we have these cameras set up everywhere. We take a lot of videos with them to show customers, real-life scenarios. And when you put it up in a living room 16 feet, you see everything. You see everything, no matter if it's pitch black. So we can guarantee, that's a substantial amount of night vision. And then the detection alerts, same thing. All of our cameras have motion detection, but all of our cameras have sound detection. Again, I feel like, what's the point of having detection alerts if they don't have both? I always tell people, you have the camera pointed at your door and the door opens. Of course, you're going to get a motion detection alert. But what if somebody breaks a window out of the camera view? What is the point of having detection alerts if you're missing half of what's happening? So this camera has both of them. So that means if I set up this camera and I want to enable motion detection, I can even choose a zone. So it'll show my, field of view in the app, and I can click to hit areas in which I want to trigger motion. I can even change the sensitivity. Our customization abilities are pretty amazing, honestly. Even in sound detection, I can change the volume in which the sound that triggers my detection alert has to be. So I like to just stand next to the camera and yell, and then see it spike up, and then set the the threshold to that point. That way I'm not getting an alert every time, I have cats. Every time my cats meow, I don't want those alerts. But if
Right.
something's happening, breaking glass, somebody yelling, I want to get those alerts. So, we have those available for people to customize so that they can make this truly their ideal home security camera.
So, and one of the last things here is that obviously, you did not want to overcomplicate this. Makes a lot of sense, but a lot of other companies that come on the show here, they, the price of the camera is only half of it, and I completely understand it from a business point of view. You don't, if you're going to continue to support these systems, you're going to want them to kind of pay for themselves in the long run and pay for that continued development of those cameras. And an upfront cost is only half of it. And a lot of them come with, some basic features where they'll let you record, 24 hours of video for free, and then, they'll overwrite themselves every day. And then they have kind of backup plans that, pay us an extra $25, $30, $40 a month, and we'll keep a month worth of video for you, or, so on and so forth, things like that. You don't have that with this one. You don't have, subscribe to our service and you get XYZ amount of extra little goodies. Why did you decide to not do kind of an extra plan?
Well, for right now, I would say, this camera is honestly like the best camera to buy right now, because in a way it's prepared for the future. So we are looking into offering those options early next year. It's just for us, we want to make sure that they're affordable and that they're the right sort of option. So, like you said, a lot of other companies, they offer a free sort of trial or plan, and then they offer some paid for backup support. And a lot of those plans are very expensive, and personally too expensive, I think. And some of them are very limited. You're paying for something that's actually not all that great, or maybe not what you need in terms of, home recording or security recording.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we're fine-tuning, got to get that price just right. We want it to be available to anyone, and we got to get in terms of storage just right. I want it to be worth the money that they're spending. So this camera is actually going to see the benefits of that when we do announce that next year. It will support this camera. So getting this camera now, you have that affordable camera, you're doing home monitoring. With our app, you can actually do manual recording. There's a little button, and you can record clips directly to your tablet or your phone. So it's still available, but coming early next year, they can also add those cloud recording or external recording options.
Right. And I didn't mean it to sound like, it was a bad thing all the time. Like, I understand that, these companies, they do have, server costs, storage, data storage, things like that. I mean, it's not free, but I also share your opinion that, in a lot of cases, it's kind of like the printer market, where, a lot of the business is actually done for cartridge replacements and refills and things like that. It's just, kind of the way that some companies choose to do it. And hey, that's completely their decision. But very cool that you're deciding to do that next year. So looking forward to that. Now, again, this thing is available $60 and very, very simple. No, not too complicated. Where can people find these if they were looking to purchase one?
These are for sale on Amazon, of course, and as well as in stores and online at Best Buy and Walmart right now. And this one, the $60 one, is a single pack. We also sell it as a 2-pack, which is, I think, perfect for anybody just starting with the home monitoring or home surveillance. And the 2-pack, of course, is available for $120. Right now, it is actually, I think, starting yesterday on sale at Best Buy for $99.99 for the 2-pack.
So
not too bad.
Right? No, not at all. And let's talk about kind of the multi-camera feature. It would be obviously a little inconvenient if you had to sign out of your account, sign into a new camera every single time. I'm assuming you can control or at least view multiple cameras in the same app. And also, how many cameras can you have?
Yes, in the app you can see all of your cameras, and if you have it in tablet or you're looking on your tablet, there's actually a little list on the left-hand side, so while you're viewing one camera, you can go and bounce around between the others. In the phone, it's another screen, I guess you could say. But we actually have no limits on how many cameras somebody can add to an account. In fact, we don't even limit them if the cameras are located in different states. So if I'm a vacation property owner, you know, Airbnb is huge right now, and I have cameras at all those locations. As long as I tie them to one account or one email address, I can see them all from one screen in my app. So I can bounce around literally between cameras in different states from the comfort of my living room just by hitting the camera that I want to view. So it's really, really convenient, no limitations, no hubs required, nothing like that.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting because you're right. I mean, I have heard that adding extra cameras would be an additional fee to certain accounts that, you know, kind of do that functionality that you're talking about. Very, very interesting. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I don't think we're going to be able to do, you know, kind of a blow-by-blow of your entire, of D-Link's entire kind of home surveillance, you know, kind of catalog. But does this play nicely with others? Like, you know, could you register, you know, one of your more expensive units and this one to the same account and it's treated the same? Or does each kind of unit have to be, you know, identical to the same unit?
Oh, no, you can mix and match. As long as it's a D-Link camera and it's app supported, you can have any different combination of them as possible. I know, I mean, I have so many cameras set up for testing. I'm proof if I were to take a screenshot of my app. It's literally every camera we have, and they're all set up in different ways. That's the great thing about it is if I have one, you know, with motion detection that's only in one area, like a door, but another one I don't even have motion detection. Maybe I only have sound detection. It doesn't matter. Every camera is unique in the way that you set it up, but as long, again, as it's tied to one account or email address, it's still accessible through one interface, but each one is individual in how you customize it.
Right. So, and you know, we have about 3 minutes left. I think we've covered, unless you have anything to add to the Mini HD indoor camera. Could you quickly run through, you know, the rest of the cameras? Again, we have like 2 or 3 minutes. If people were looking to upgrade, their use case, and what do you offer?
So I'll just go through kind of, let's say top 3. So the Mini HD Wi-Fi camera, of course, like I mentioned, is kind of the entry-level home monitoring. And then working your way up, we do have an HD Wi-Fi camera with the model number DCS-936L. And that's literally your next step up because it offers much of the same with the night vision and the detection alerts. But it also has a micro SD card slot on it. So you put a micro SD card up to 128 gigs in there, and then you record directly to that card. So now it's adding that local, very affordable recording option that you can still access from the app, but you're not paying any sort of subscription fees. And then the next one up, I would say, would be our HD pan and tilt camera. It's a very unique camera because it literally pans and tilts. It moves around, it goes upside down, it goes 340 degrees around and 120 degrees up and down. So somebody who's monitoring a wide area, maybe they have a lot of pets, kids running around, maybe even somebody who wants to use it as small business security and put it mounted upside down in the middle of their room and then kind of pan and move around from their app. It's a really, really great camera for that reason, and it has that micro SD card as well, so you can record directly to that card. I mean, it's just really about what you want to use it for. I can guarantee we have a camera that fits that need.
I gotcha. Yeah, and you know, they are all available over at dlink.com. And by the way, if people wanted to find out more information about, you know, the camera that we talked about or any other camera, where should they go?
They should go to our website, as you mentioned, dlink.com or us.dlink.com, and then they can search. I mean, we have banners everywhere for the DCS-8000LH, but a lot of our information is also on Best Buy and Amazon. You know, they can get a lot of that there. We also have a YouTube channel up that shows customers our features, how to set it up. It's been really, really helpful to people to answer a lot of the questions they have before purchasing.
Awesome. Yeah, and please, and don't forget that everyone over at computeramerica.com, we do have a link to us.dlink.com. If you're driving or you're busy, don't worry, we have you covered. But Carissa, we are flat out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. It's a great little camera at a great little price.
Yes, it is. And thank you for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
All right, you bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so everyone else out there, music means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More Computer America right after this. Stay tuned as we do computer and technology news.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, we are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And, folks, time for some computer and technology news. Here we go. And don't forget, Computer and Technology News is brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. They do some great stuff for network traffic monitoring, and they are a great solution for any small businesses out there that really want to take control of their security. Hey, Fire Dragon Security, they, I think, have really done a lot of work and would be of great help to these companies left and right that are being hacked. Network intrusion detection is something that I think every company that really relies on their customers' data and really relies on their own internal data, they need to be at least considering, even just a little bit. And hey, Fire Dragon Security, they're a great company. So with that being said, why don't we do computer and technology news? And we have a couple stories here. And we're going to try to keep this, good, bad, try to play the whole field. And I think we're going to start off with, why don't we do this one? So this is a report coming out just today, I believe. And, the Google phone, it's, I've heard a lot of good reviews. It's certainly, it's for what the Pixel is and what the Pixel 2 does. A lot of people certainly do like it. It certainly deserves its place as a competitor to the iPhone and the Samsung Galaxy line. Obviously, the price point kind of matches, but here we have it. We're showing a little sign of a problem. And luckily, it's not to the extent of, Samsung Galaxy 7, where these batteries were sort of kind of, exploding. But instead, it has to do with the screen. And I think this is something that you expect from screens that are multi-year old and not screens that are multi-week old. But this coming to us from Ars Technica, Mr. Ron Amedo, and he's saying, or at least, he's reporting that, something that many people have been, or at least several people have reported over the past couple days, that their screens are experiencing burn-in. So whenever an image, stays on the screen too long, well, that's where you start to get burn-in. So here we go, saying that the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL are the best Android phones you can buy, but as the author says, does the 2 XL have a lot of display issues? Saying that in addition to the graininess and weird blue shift at certain angles, the 2 XL is now experiencing burn-in on units that are just a week or two old. Not what you want with the new phone. So, the Android Central was the first to report the issue, showing a picture of a Pixel 2 XL with some nasty image retention around the navigation bar. And they said that shortly after, several other reports of the burn-in started popping up. And also, according to Ars Technica, they have an image of it here. You can see it. And right along the bottom of the phone screen, you see some after image from where the navigation bar is. Or at least was, because it's a blank screen, and then the navigation bar, you can see that after image. That it's kind of like, when you used to turn off your television and you could still see that little bit of an image. Yeah, same thing. So they said that, yeah, and again, that was in Ars Technica's review unit. So this isn't even like from, a third-party source. This is directly from Ars Technica. And in a response to the complaints, Google has sent out a statement saying that it's investigating the issue, and yada yada yada. Essentially, Google saying that they're actively investigating the issue, and probably, if Google responds to this correctly, they're most likely going to let you send your phone in for repairs, or maybe even give you a refund. But this is not happening to all phones, and again, is mainly focused on the Pixel 2 XL, the larger of the phones. I have not heard any of these reports from the Pixel 2. So, and they said that Samsung is the undisputed leader in smartphone OLED displays, and the Samsung panels used on the Pixel 1, the 1 XL, and the Pixel 2 have mostly been issue-free. But here's where some people are saying that this is, kind of what caused it. They're saying that the Pixel 2 XL uses an LG-made POLED display, which has proven to not be up to standards set by Samsung. And the LG V30 uses a similar panel and has lots of display issues as well. So, looks like Google is, Google, they haven't really released a statement, but people are insinuating that it's LG and some of their faulty display technology. Still, they said that it's been a rough few weeks for the Google's hardware division, saying that in addition to the display issues with the Pixel 2 XL, the Home Mini apparently shipped with a top touch surface so defective that Google had to permanently disable it. And they said that we've got to wonder, what is quality control like over there? A little harsh, but completely justified. A company the size of Google, a company the size of, LG, or, the likes of Samsung or Apple, if they made design flaws, and trust me, every company, be it Apple's antenna, during its 3G phone or 3GS, be it Samsung's exploding batteries in their Samsung Galaxy line, be it now the Google Pixel, everyone has these hardware issues. And, I think what separates the companies, the good from the bad, isn't that you have a perfect, never flawless, never having a flaw phone. Instead, it's the company's response to the issue. So in the next couple days, I fully expect Google to come out and either say, yep, this is our bad, we're recalling, or nope, that's standard, and tough luck. So we'll see what Google responds with, but I'm not going to discredit them just because they had a faulty phone. I think at this point, it's safe to say, so has everyone at some point. All right, so why don't we go from those woes to, how about a happy story? How about a good story? A story that paints someone in a good light. And folks, trust me, there's not many of those. All right, how about we do this one? This is a story that if you are a fan of Xbox, I mean, who isn't? Most people. But if you're a fan of Xbox, good news, saying that you can play the first set of the original Xbox games on the Xbox One tomorrow. And this coming to us from Timothy Sapala over at Engadget. And yeah, this is exciting. They're saying that in terms of new software, Microsoft doesn't have much to offer Xbox One owners this holiday, unless you want to play the fourth Forza in as many years. Yeah, I think people are getting a little burned out on Forza. But what it does have, though, they have dozens of games baked in from the original Xbox. where some we already know, such as Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge, and Xbox launch title Fusion Frenzy. But there are a few more surprises as well. And this is great because I definitely got an Xbox, and the launch titles, some of the launch titles were, iconic. They were a lot of fun to play. So here we have it. So for full list, we'll have a link to this in the show notes. But yeah, not half bad. Saying that you have, they said that you have a couple of games that were released back in 2002, and the full list includes Blood Rain 2, Crimson Skies, as we already said, Dead to Rights. Let's see, Ninja Gaiden Black. Definitely a fan of that one. Psychonauts, Red Faction 2, Sid Meier's Pirates, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. That one was a lot of fun. Now, as IGN notes, playing the Bush-era games on your Xbox One boosts the resolution to 1080p and offers widescreen support for certain games in addition to System Link multiplayer, as it was back in the day. Xbox Live didn't come around till a little while ago, and you had to route your Xboxes through a router. Yeah, that was the thing. So if you have your old discs laying around, simply pop them into your console and gain access starting tomorrow. And if you've lost them over the past 15 years, fret not, because they'll be available to download $10 each. Oh, that money grab. $10 a piece. Ouch. Well, I bet you there's going to be a lot of bargain bin shopping and a lot of people dusting off old games, but there you have it. If you feel like playing Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time on your Xbox One, now you can. Pretty darn cool. Although $10, pretty expensive. All right. Now let's talk about a story that is only starting, but we may see more of this. And I really want to get ahead of this, and I really want to, kind of get as much of this in as possible. Now, this is from a website called Gizmodo. I'm sure you've heard of it. And they have this story saying that computer parts site Newegg is being sued for allegedly engaging in massive fraud. Now, these stories, usually when they finally come to suit, there are some, there's some pretty compelling evidence. These don't normally pan out to be hoaxes. So I really wanted to get ahead of this and really see how this develops. So, Newegg, a suit filed Friday in the U.S. District Court of Los Angeles by 4 South Korean banks, alleges massive fraud with an outstanding debt of at least $230 million, $250 million. That's a lot. And California-based electronics parts seller Newegg has been named as a defendant, along with the wholesaler ASI Corporation and its officers. ASI Corp, I've heard about them, have not dealt with them directly. Newegg, very reputable, very respected in the computer parts industry, and again, kind of for being on consumer side a lot of the time. So I wanted to get out ahead of this, see what they're saying about Newegg, and see how this develops. So 4 different banks, they are all suing Newegg and are essentially they're saying that they're all essentially, this is a follow-up lawsuit to the CEO of Newegg that brought him down back in 2015. And they said that Park, who was, again, the CEO, was sentenced to 23 years in prison in order to forfeit over $31 million after borrowing and failing to repay millions. A scheme the current lawsuit calls one of the largest instances of fraud in South Korea's history. So the new documents, they allege that Newegg and ASI were both engaging in an intricate scheme of circular transactions that banks submitted over 70 pages of supported fraudulent orders as evidence that Newegg and ASI created the paperwork that Manuel used to secure loans. So they said that the suit further claims that Newegg and ASI received kickbacks from Manuel in varying amounts in exchange for agreeing to collude with Manuel to defraud the banks. So, one method of inflating purchase orders for Manuel, a brand barely remembered in North America as a low-tier entrant into robotic vacuums market, allegedly involved creating the paperwork that showed components being sold for over 370 times their value. And from the lawsuit, they have a quote here from the lawsuit saying that Newegg issued fraudulent purchase orders for the purported purchase of home theater personal computers and other goods manufactured by Manuel. And that with regard to the HTPCs, which are home theater personal computers, Manuel purported to charge ASI Newegg between $2,530 and $2,980 per unit, and that these amounts were stated on the invoices and purchase orders from ASI Newegg upon the bank advance funds to Manuel. However, the bank later learned that in reality, the home theater personal computers that were being sold, again, for anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000 were in fact only worth $8 per unit. Pretty incredible. Though his sentence was eventually reduced to 15 years, Park was convicted in the classic Ponzi scheme that ruined his company, and the current suit demands monetary damages from Newegg and ASI to be determined at a jury trial. And so far, they have not heard back from Newegg or ASI for comment, but for those of you who did not catch that, it seems like, supposedly, as alleged in this lawsuit, ASI and Newegg were giving purchase orders that were fraudulent. No one ever purchased these home theater personal computers. No one ever purchased them, but they issued fake ones as if they did. As if, hey, we have 1,000 people looking to buy these things. Where Manuel would take those 1,000 purchase orders to a bank, say, hey, look, we have, $50 million, $100 million worth of product that we need to send out. But we need, they went to the banks and said, we need $20 million in capital to produce these units and so on and so forth. And again, no one is buying these products. No one is producing these products. Even if they were being produced, they were only being produced for, again, like $8 instead of $3,000. So they would get all this money from the bank to produce these. They fill these fraudulent orders with really, really cheap product. And then the rest of the money, I'm sure a percentage went back to these companies that were supplying the fraudulent orders. So obviously the banks were going to be ripped off, and these purchase orders were never actually legitimate, and Manuel was never really doing that much business revenue. Again, a very large circular fraudulent, kind of thing. So it doesn't seem like Newegg was caught up in any kind of, ripping off consumers directly. This was more an attempt to, again, if these are correct, collude with another organization to rip off the banks. I guess it needs to come out in a suit on how much Newegg knew and when did they know it. I hate to use that trope, but really, how much did they know? When did they know it? Because obviously they were colluding. They were offering these fake orders. And it's a question now of, how much trouble are they really in and how much damages are they going to have to repay? But luckily, if you are to take anything good away from this, Newegg, fortunately, has not been caught doing anything fraudulent on their consumer side. So, hey, that's something, if you are a Newegg customer, hey, that's something. All right. So with that one being said, how about we talk about TiVo? I know you're thinking, but Ben, this isn't 2008. It's okay, because TiVo has a new unit. And, we had heard about it. We'd seen some leaks, kind of product mock-ups of what it was going to look like. And TiVo, what was the leader in DVR technology, kind of the first one to make it to market, and everyone wanted to be TiVo. And then they did, and TiVo kind of went away. Well, now they're back and they have a new product. And they're saying that it has popped up at Amazon and Best Buy. So this is by Rob Lefebvre, and this is coming to us from Engadget, saying that TiVo's rumored voice-controlled DVR pops up at Amazon and Best Buy. And that's, and the author starts saying that we've been looking forward to a voice-controlled TiVo for a few months, thanks to a leak about a new Peanut-style Bluetooth remote and trademark for the new product with the Vox name appended. So Vox, V-O-X. And now it appears that both the TiVo Bolt Vox and the TiVo Mini Vox, again V-O-X, not box, but Vox, will soon be available for purchase. And originally posted on Twitter, they said that the Bolt Vox was seen on Amazon, and the Mini Vox is still showing up on the Best Buy's Magnolia page. Now, the Bolt Vox seems to be about the same size as the previous TiVo Bolt, while the Mini Vox seems to be about the size of a Roku or an Apple TV device. And that the image posted, they show that the DVR company, the new Hydra interface, where if you're watching the video portion, the Hydra interface, it's not bad. It's probably pretty intuitive, and yeah, again, not bad. They said that which has been streamlined to have a more unified look across devices. And they also said that they also tweeted that the Vox remote will be sold as an accessory for existing Bolt units and will require the Hydra interface. So yeah, for those of you who have not been paying attention, this was a larger TiVo unit, kind of does everything that you expect it to. 500 gigabytes, lots of storage for data and movies, able to stream 4K Ultra HD, will connect to all of your different services via Pandora, YouTube, iHeartRadio, HBO Go, Netflix, Amazon, Vudu, Plex, Hulu, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, they're trying to be your all-in-one media hub. And, well, looks like it finally got released very quietly to Amazon and Best Buy. TiVo, back in the market. Didn't see that coming. Well, I kind of did, but that's just thanks to leaks. So, there you have it. And let's see. I think there was like one or two more stories I really wanted to get to. All right. We have this one, and then, let's see. I really wanted to get to the Newegg. I really wanted to get to the Pixel and the screen, which we did. And the last one, that as a security-minded individual, as someone who enjoys the idea that your data is yours, and unless you give it over in some kind of, very common transaction of, yes, I'd like to use your services, yes, here's my data. Well, I like the fact that only the right people were able to access my data. So they said that the FBI tried and failed to unlock 7,000 encrypted devices, and that the agency's director said that the encryption is a huge problem. That sentence rubs me the wrong way like you wouldn't believe. Like, take your local cat or dog, take the rough side of a sponge and rub them against the fur. That's how much that sentence rubs me the wrong way. The agency's director said that encryption is a huge problem. Wrong. Encryption is the thing that is making devices and communication safer. My goodness. So, in an 11-month period, the FBI failed to gain access to about 7,000 encrypted mobile devices, which is about half of those targeted by the agency, according to the FBI director, Christopher Wray. So, 7,000, half, 14,000 in total that the FBI is trying to gain access to. That's a lot of phones. And in a speech given at the Association of Chiefs of Police conference yesterday, he said that device encryption was a huge problem for the agency. and that the FBI publicly went after Apple in 2015 during San Bernardino when they wanted to gain access to an iPhone 5C, and Apple refused. Essentially, Apple took the route of, these are our consumer devices. If we installed backdoors that let us, decrypt phones, let us gain access to any data that was stored on the phones, then that backdoor could be used for, purposes that they themselves did not fully support. Apple worked with law enforcement to their fullest capacity, but they did not, nor would they, develop a kind of a secret iOS update that would strip it of all security features, which would then give unfettered access to anyone who either A, had that software, or B, any law enforcement agency that, kind of used that software. So while the incident garnered a lot of attention, it certainly wasn't the first time that the FBI made it clear that encrypted smartphones were a headache for the agency. And they said that Director James Comey said that secure communications could lead to a very dark place, and called on Congress to change the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act accordingly. And further, while the FBI presented the San Bernardino attacker phone as a special case of national security, they said that the Department of Justice was pursuing 9 similar requests around the same time. Essentially, if Apple were to have caved in, if Apple were to have said, all right, here is a special iOS update that you can put on any of our smartphones, and it would let you have access to everything, which would probably be the way, because, it was either that or permanently install a backdoor for law enforcement in every single phone that Apple ever sold. Which those backdoors, we've seen time and time again that other companies that tend to do this, those backdoors are discovered and used by hackers. Because a door is a door, and it's not always the person with the keys that gets to use it. Anyone with enough know-how can get into them. So, yeah, they said that, the FBI was very, very serious, that the San Bernardino shooting, I remember talking about that, and that particular case, that phone really probably didn't hold that much information. In fact, they did finally get it open, and no great crazy revelations happened from gaining access to that device. What the FBI were really trying to do was to get access to all Apple devices. And if they could get them to crack one, then they could use the same technique, the same software, the same whatever to gain access to in this case, 9 other devices. And as we see, 14,000 devices this year that they're trying to gain access to. Huge breach of personal, privacy. So, and Ray said at the conference, I get it. There's a balance that needs to be struck between encryption and the importance of giving us the tools we need to keep the public safe. But as cybersecurity expert Alan Woodward told BBC News, encryption is here to stay. Thank goodness. Saying that encryption that frustrates forensic investigators will be a fact of life from now on for law enforcement agencies. And that even if the equipment manufacturers didn't build in such encryption, it would be possible to obtain the software that encrypted data in the same way. So essentially, what they're saying is that even if encryption wasn't built into phones, the software to encrypt data is just as accessible and just as easy to install as if it were there naturally. So encryption, personally, it's a huge, huge boon for people, making sure that you and those you trust are the only ones viewing your information. Huge, huge, huge help. But yeah, not surprised at all that the FBI do not feel the same way. All right, everyone, that is just about it for today's show. Music means, obviously, we are done for the day. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to tune in tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, as we have on the program, let me get this right, as we have on the program, Ladium. And we are going to be talking about cryptocurrency in Bitcoin, because hey, it's been booming. It's a topic of hot conversation, and cryptocurrencies in general, are they a good way to, kind of invest money? Hey, It's going to be a fun-filled day tomorrow. Tune in 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, and every day, Monday through Friday. And in the meantime, everyone, I want to thank D-Link for coming on the show. Thank you for tuning in, and they see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.